So a great new term has popped up really in just the last week. And that term is sane washing, kind of like brainwashing, but sane washing. And it's what members of the media are now starting to use about other media outlets and how they are not properly covering Donald Trump's very clear and obvious mental problems. And on Monday night of this week, MSNBC host Lawrence O'Donnell did a phenomenal job of absolutely trashing the New York Times for trying to sane wash Donald Trump's idiotic speech last week at the New York Economic Forum, where he vomited up a word salad, and the New York Times did their best to try to make sense of it and give you their interpretation of what he was trying to say, rather than just saying, this guy is bat crap crazy. So here is what Lawrence O'Donnell said. The elements of the news media that have been accused of sane washing Donald Trump know that they are guilty of exactly that, and now some of them, like the New York Times, they really are trying to do something about it. But this was their first try, so it's not perfect. Sane washing, O'Donnell explained, is when outlets, quote, edit Donald Trump's crazy statements down to a shape that allows them to then make sense of them. He accused the New York Times of sane washing in the article after they printed a rambling response Trump gave in a speech to the New Economic Club of New York, in which he suggested tariffs could provide government funding for childcare. The article pointed out Trump's long answer after acknowledging that reprinted just portions do not give the full picture of how baffling Trump's statements can be. So then Lawrence continued. He accused the paper of allowing Trump to describe tariffs as, quote, taxing foreign nations, with no pushback, and pointing out that such taxes can often be pushed onto American consumers. And they are. In this article, the New York Times is trying to cure itself of its habit of sane washing Donald Trump, and in the very next passage after the one I just read, the Times tries to sane wash what Donald Trump said last week to the stupid rich people at the New York Economic Club who clapped enthusiastically for Donald Trump's incoherent response to a question about childcare, a response that was not an answer. He then mocked the Times for saying Trump's childcare answer simply offered a disputable policy assumption. A disputable policy assumption, O'Donnell said? That is the single most disturbing thing I have read in the New York Times about the New York Times. Now, everything O'Donnell said is correct. And everything O'Donnell said is what I've been saying for months, that the media is not doing a good job, and most of the time not doing a job at all, of covering Donald Trump's mental problems. And I do believe, personally, we're looking at both psychological problems and neurological problems. Right? There is a psychiatric component to it, and there is a biological component to it. But they have become so obsessed with trying to tell us what they think Trump means, instead of just telling us, we don't know what it means because this is insane, right? A normal person doesn't speak like this. A normal person doesn't respond like this to the question that was asked. That's all you have to say. It is not the job of the press to try to make sense of the ramblings of a madman. Yet that is what they have been doing. But in the last few days, it hadn't even been a week, in the last few days, more and more people are calling it out. The term sane washing has been trending on social media. This is picking up steam, forcing the New York Times to actually start addressing the issue. They didn't do a good job of it, but at least they've started. We've got to keep the pressure up. We have got to force them to cover this, because they'll fall right back into their old habits like that if we let them. It's up to us. I will keep pushing this. I hope Lawrence O'Donnell and everybody else at MSNBC keeps pushing this, because this is important. Voters need to understand that Trump is a crazy guy, instead of having the media try to interpret his incoherent ramblings.
One of today's video sponsors is Miracle Made. Did you know that traditional bed sheets can actually harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat? It can lead to acne, allergies, stuffy noses, and it's just plain gross. Miracle Made offers a whole line of self-cleaning antibacterial bedding such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters that prevent up to 99.7% of bacteria growth and require up to 3 times less laundry. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA, and their sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, so you get better sleep every night. Miracle sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands, and they feel as nice, if not nicer, than bed sheets used by some five-star hotels. And it's designed for your skin. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Bacteria can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne, and you can sleep clean with Miracle. Now, I've been using Miracle Made bed sheets for nearly 2 years now, and I absolutely love them. They help keep me cool throughout the night, which means I get better sleep because I'm not waking up all throughout the night from being too hot. So go to trymiracle.com/ROF to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code ROF at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product that it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/ROF and use the code ROF to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/ROF to treat yourself.